Welcome to another tutorial of Proflan YouTube channel. In this particular video, we're going to have a discussion of this Igcse Edexcel Physics Paper 2, and we're going to focus on how you are supposed to approach some of the questions that appeared there. If you are new to Proflan YouTube channel, consider subscribing so that any time I'm going to upload another tutorial, you'll be notified. So what you need to understand that in Igcse Edexcel Physics Paper 2, these are the formulas that you will be able to see in the first page. You are given the formula for power, orbital speed. You are given the equation of motion. You have pressure times volume is constant. You are given different formulas here, which becomes handy in order to solve some of the questions. So don't forget that you can be able to use this area. We need to look at the first question that was tested. It was about Hertzsprung-Russell diagrams. Remember, there are different regions that represent different stages of a star in a HR diagram. So which means that at this point of time, this is the main sequence at Q. At R, we have the red giant. If you are given a region just above the red giant, that is a red supergiant. And then below the main sequence is the white dwarf. So these stars which are closer to this region here, they are actually hot. And these stars which are on the upper part of the absolute magnitude, they represent very bright stars. And you can see now the main region of the main sequence, the main sequence represents the largest part, so meaning that most of the stars are currently in the main sequence, which means that if you are given a star somewhere here and you are told which stage it is, you say the main sequence. If they ask you which reactions are taking place in this star, which is in the main sequence, you'll be able to say it's a fusion of hydrogen and hydrogen to form helium. And also you need to understand the properties of the main sequence is that the inward force, the inward gravitational force is equal to the outward force that is developed from within the star, the core of the star. Then once a star moves from the main sequence, it becomes a red giant. Then it becomes a white dwarf. But if a star is massive, it moves from the main sequence, it becomes a super red giant, which becomes a supernova. Then it it explodes to become a neutron star or a black hole. So for P, you are to draw a straight line from this region here, and then you join all the way to the white dwarf. Q, you are to join to the main sequence, and R, you are supposed to join all the way to the red giant star. You are supposed to define absolute magnitude in this exam, but you need to remember that there are two types of brightness of a star, which is apparent brightness and also absolute brightness. Apparent brightness is the measure of how bright a star appears from the Earth. If you are asked to define absolute brightness, is a measure of how bright a star will appear if they were placed at a standard distance from the Earth, which is 10 parsec. So for you to sit for this coming May, June exams, you need to remember how to define the two types of brightness: apparent brightness and absolute brightness. Next question that featured here is the question for moments, and we have a wrench which is opening a nut here. Remember, principle of moment states that at equilibrium, sum of clockwise moments is equal to the sum of clockwise anti-clockwise moments about the same point. So you need also to understand the formula used to calculate a moment of force. Remember, moment is force times perpendicular distance. You need to remember that the distance you're going to use is the perpendicular distance from the point, from the line of action of the force to the pivot. So in this case, I used 28 as the force and the perpendicular distance is 0.15. I converted it to meters so that we can have it in SI units. Factors that affect moments is force applied and the distance from the pivot. So that's the second part of the question B, whereby you are supposed to state two changes that could be made to increase the size of the moment applied to the nut. That is, apply a greater amount of force or apply a force far from the nut. A force is applied over a distance that is equal to the quarter the circumference, and the circle has a radius of 15 centimeters. We were supposed to calculate the distance over which the force is applied. You were to apply this formula: circumference equals to 2 pi r, but you have to multiply by a quarter so that you can be able to get that distance as 24 centimeters. And then therefore you are supposed to work out the work done because a force was moved. The force of 28 was moved of a distance of 0.24. This was 24 centimeters. We had to convert it to meters, and that translated to 6.72 joules of energy to transfer that force of 28 newtons over a distance of 24 centimeters. If you are new to Proflan YouTube channel, consider subscribing so that anytime I'm going to upload a tutorial, you'll be notified. We need to move to the second part of the question, the third question. A student investigate how much infrared is absorbed by different surfaces, and the photograph shows part of the equipment. We have a black bottle, and also we have a silver bottle, meaning silver, it's a shiny surface which can be able to reflect these infrared radiations. So remember, if a bottle is black, it's a good absorber of heat. So it means that it will absorb more heat, but a silver bottle would reflect the heat away. So that's the concept of different properties of surfaces that are good absorbers. Black surfaces are good absorbers, while silvery and bright surfaces are poor absorbers. But what also you need to understand that bright surfaces can retain heat for a long period of time, so they are poor emitters, and black surfaces lose heat quickly, so they are good emitters. The student pours some water into each bottle. Describe the method the student could use to investigate how the color of the bottle affect the amount of infrared absorbed by the bottle. So what I decided is that I'm going to put the heater somewhere here. Then I'll put the black and the shiny silver bottle distance apart, but the distance should be the same so that they are going to absorb the same amount of radiations. Then I'll put the same amount of water, this same volume of water into the bottles, and then usher in or insert the thermometers. Put equal amount of the water inside the bottle, place the bottle equal distances from the heater, place the two thermometer inside the bottles, measure the temperature of the water in both bottles after some time. So you will realize that if a bottle absorbs more heat, the temperature will be higher than the other. Definitely, that's exactly what will happen. Black surfaces will absorb more heat than the shiny surface, which is a poor absorber. Then there was a question to draw a curve to show the expected variation in temperature on the black and the silver bottle. The black will have a higher temperature than the silver one. There is another question here. So we are told about electrostatics. A polythene rod is rubbed with cloth, which causes both the rod and the cloth to become charged. Remember, materials are charged by friction. When you rub different material on other material, electrons will be transferred. Those materials which gains electrons, or those materials which gain electrons becomes negatively charged, and those materials which lose electrons become positively charged. I was telling my student that protons are not transferable. They are not transferred, and the neutrons are not transferred because protons are positively charged and they are inside a nucleus. They cannot be detached from there. What can be transferred is the electrons because they are loosely held around the nucleus. So the question is, Which of these force causes the rod and the cloth to become charged? Frictional force. The force that makes object to orbit around the sun is gravitational force. The force that happen when you have two magnets is magnetic force. A force that you'll have if you are hanging on a string, the force inside the string is tensional force. So you need to understand all these forces here. Then we are told that the polythene rod become negatively charged. Which of these statements explain how the load has become negatively charged? So you need to remember that you'll material will only be negatively charged if it has gained electrons. So the load gains electrons. That's why it has become negatively charged. A student has a rod made from different materials. The student wraps each rod the same way with a cloth. The student measures the charge gained by each of the rod 3 times, and then we can be able to see the glass had a mean of 36, hebonite had a mean of 170, negative 170. Polythene doesn't have any mean here. Acetate has a mean of negative 19. Then if you are asked about anomalous or unusual, anomalous point is the strange value that you'll have that is inconsistent from the rest. You have negative 61, negative 59. How come it's negative 80? So that becomes Mr. Anomalous value. Mr. Anomalous value is seated here, is smelling like there was a mistake that was happening here. So the way to deal with it, you can be able to repeat this value, or when you are finding the mean, you only use this one and this one, divide by 2 in order to find this one. Let's check the question they are asked in the next part. State how the student should deal with the anomalous. Can repeat the experiment on that section or ignore the anomalous value when finding the mean. That's how you deal with it. But in this case, when you are doing in an exam, you cannot be able to repeat because this experiment was done by a student. You are here just to analyze that data. So for you, you are going to use the second part. You are going to ignore negative 180 that we were having at this point here, negative 180, negative 80, you ignore it. You use negative 61 and negative 59 in order to work out this mean, and you'll get this. Then the next question, you were supposed to describe how the student will use the rod to demonstrate their art, 2 different types of electric charges. We are going to talk of attraction and repulsion, and the concept of unlike charges attract and like charges repel it was very prominent here. And you are supposed to show the existence of the positive and negative charges. State which wave property determines the pitch of sound. That is frequency. Sound of high frequency will have a high pitch, and the property that determines the loudness of sound is the amplitude. Those sound with high amplitude will have a loud sound. Then we are told that the bar chart shows the maximum frequency of sound heard by 4 animals and a human. And we know that the human hearing range is from 20 to 20,000 hertz. So explain which of the bar most likely to show the results of the human. That is actually C, because that's the maximum frequency a human being can be able to hear, which is 20 hertz, because human can hear sound up to 20,000 hertz. That was actually asked, and then you were supposed to show the time period of sound wave is 2.0 milliseconds. Remember, you are given frequency here, and then you are supposed to work out the time period. So remember, period is 1 over f. Then you apply it. To convert it to milliseconds, you are going to divide by 10 raised power negative 3. But to convert this millisecond to seconds, you multiply 10 negative 3. Then the diagram shows the screen of our oscilloscope, and then we have the time base of 0.5. So time base at 0.5. So meaning from here to here is 0.5, from here to here is 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. The 4 of them will give us 2 milliseconds. If you are gotten value from this video, consider subscribing so that when I'm going to upload the second part of this video, you'll be notified. See you in the next video.